GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, Dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
Comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is he?
Dude.
Let's
How
go.
good
GMGP. Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, November 25th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with myself, my brother from another mother. Y'all know who it is. JRich at your boy JRich on X, Blue Sky, wherever you get your social media content at. Follow my dog. We are in the building. Week 12 of the 2024 NFL season. Damn near in the books. We got Monday Night Football tonight. A historic performance last night on Sunday Night Football. And Jay, unfortunately, my Dallas Cowboys got a dub yesterday. I don't know how they did it. No clue how it happened, but they got a dub and dropped down like 7 draft spots. I'm just disappointed in the squad, but we got a lot to talk about. The number 1 overall pick from 2024 playing well. And JRich, the number 1 pick from 2023, he is also playing well, my friend. We got to talk about the MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, what the hell is happening in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson. You know we got to talk AR5 today, but we got the people in the building. Who we got in the building? Tyler Trout. What's popping with you, Tyler? How you doing? Florosaurus in the building. Jimbo, Wheeze, good morning to you. Wyatt, Wallace, Saquon. Hey, we talked about it, Wyatt. I said, is there a shot? Is there a chance? Should Saquon be getting more buzz for NFL MVP? And I think after 250 damn yards, he probably should be. What's happening with you, Husker Survivor 93? GMGP to you, Jacob, Patrick. What's popping with you, my girl, Joe? Garrison in the building. And yes, JRich, GNX, that new K-Dot. That new K-Dot drop, baby. What's happening with you, Robin from Germany? And I see Robin has got a picture with Malik Neighbors, man. Me and Malik and Robin, we all hang out on the weekends, man. We link up. We fly business class. JRich, how you doing this morning, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We had a great weekend of football. Some great games, some surprising performances on a lot of different fronts.
College,
yeah, I was going to ask you about college because I know that your Buffs lost, so you're a little bit upset about that.
They did lose. Devin Neal went berserk.
Yeah, he went crazy, right? And then Georgia locked up the SEC championship game, which was good for them too. Because Texas and A&M have to play. That's for the final spot, right?
Yeah, but Quinn jacked up his ankle, man. So who knows what's going to happen?
So is he coming back?
Yeah. Who? Quinn?
Is he coming back?
Yeah.
Milroe's coming back. I know that.
Oh yeah, that Jalen Milroe, top 5. Top 5 pick, Jalen. Stop doing it, folks. Stop mocking Jalen Milroe inside the top 10 of the first round. But we got a lot to talk about. No basketball talk today. No Paige Beckers, no Lakers, no Lakers talk. Just straight foosball today, JRich. Just straight football, nothing but. But we do have to start this thing out. Talking about the sponsors, baby, the people that pay the bills, and y'all know who it is, man. Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code ALLGAS for up to $1,000 in free bonus bets. Get in with us as the fantasy season wraps up. You ain't got shit else to do. Get over there. We'll run some 3-pick entries. DD betting coming very, very soon. Stay tuned for that. And you see the hats, man. New era partnership over here at DD Fantasy Football. So shout out to New Era hats and shout out to all my service men and women members out there. Show your support for those who serve with the official cap of Salute to Service from New Era with the snow white camo crown and graphite accented team logos. The Salute to Service collection lets you proudly show your team's appreciation in a sleek, sophisticated way. Pay tribute to those who protect us with the official cap of the NFL from New Era hats today. The NFL and New Era are dedicated to honoring our nation's heroes through contributions to the NFL Salute to Service charity partners Learn more at NFL.com/salute. There is a link in the description to cop you one of these badass hats. And once again, it may not be an everyday occurrence, but I very much am appreciative of our servicemen and women out here in this great country. JRich, is it time? Some straight facts. Do we got news to get to? I gotta get my coffee, JRich. So I'm gonna hit you with this. I think you should pop up. I think we got it fixed. Straight facts. Let's get it, Jay.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
All right, everybody. So we do have a decent amount of news to get through. Let's start off with the Las Vegas Raiders and Gardner Minshew, who broke his collarbone and is going to be out for the rest of the season. Do we see Desmond Ridder? Do we see another quarterback who recently hit the market become available and play for the Raiders? Who knows? We shouldn't really care because the Raiders are awful, but Jacoby Myers was pretty good in this game. And overall, I don't expect much from them going forward, but someone's got to play quarterback for the Raiders. It's not going to be Gardner Minshew. Maybe it's Aiden O'Connell. We will see from there. Ja'Tavion Sanders suffered what was a pretty gruesome-looking neck injury, but he is okay, and he did not suffer anything serious. He was released from hospital later in the day. He did get back to the team facility and should be fine. We're not going to say he's going to play this week because we don't know that, but it's definitely not as bad as it looked on the field. So happy to see that JT Sanders is back and hopefully playing this week. So that was good for us overall. Austin Eckler-Ray did suffer another concussion, didn't look good, and he already missed a game earlier this season with a concussion, so I would not expect him to be available this week. But we'll see. Maybe things can change. But yeah, with concussions this year, pretty much if you suffer one, you're probably going to be missing the next game unless you are Marvin Harrison Jr. Brock Purdy is also apparently dealing with elbow tightness and fatigue in his elbow, not just the shoulder AC joint labrum issue we discussed on Friday. So there's a plethora of issues that are plaguing Brock Purdy right now, and we're still kind of waiting to find out when and if he's going to be available. The Niners obviously lost this week with Brandon Allen at the helm, and we don't expect them to do much better going forward, so they need Brock Purdy back. The question is, do they rush him back? Do they wait? And what is his status coming into this practice week? That's big for us, because if you have Kittle, if you have Debo, and especially if you traded for Christian McCaffrey, it's not looking good for Niners fans and Niners owners right now. So hopefully he is back and available, but we don't have any timeline. Best case, he could play through the injury and get offseason surgery. Worst case, it could be a bigger tear than we expect, and he could miss multiple weeks. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Dave Montgomery suffered a shoulder injury and was removed from the game by head coach Dan Campbell. He said they have bigger fish to fry. Pretty big shot at the Colts, considering that game was actually somewhat close.
But they were just trying to get out healthy, man. They were just trying to get out of there. There was no threat by Indy. They were just trying to get out alive.
Yeah, so we'll see. He's going to be available on Thursday, though. He already said he could have come back in the game. Campbell held him out. No real issues there. They do play the Bears on Thursday early afternoon, so it's going to be a quick and short week for them. Sam Darnold suffered what looked like to be an ankle injury. He only missed 2 plays, but I'm a little bit worried about Darnold. It seemed like he's getting really banged up late in this season, and hopefully he can make it through the rest of the year. But just be careful of that, because it did look pretty bad. He did return to the game, but hopefully it's not worse. Potentially like after the game, swelling and stuff like that. He should be okay, but just monitor that with Darnold, because that was pretty surprising. Eagles DM Brandon Graham suffered a torn tricep and is out for the year, which sucks with how good the Eagles have been. They've won 7 straight. They're 9-2 and looking like they have a dominant command outside of the Detroit Lions over the NFC. It's looking like they're on a collision course for the NFC Championship game. So hopefully they can make that work, but Brandon Graham will not be available for the rest of the season. Daniel Jones, Ray, there is apparently 10 plus teams interested in the recently released Daniel Jones. Where is he going to sign? We don't know. People are saying it's going to be a contender, but I already talked about how the Raiders spot opened up, and there could be potentially a fit there should they want to bring in Daniel Jones, but they should be trying to lose. So we've talked about Philly as an option. The Vikings as a backup to Sam Darnold could be an option. And then, of course, San Francisco 49ers, because Brandon Allen sucks and Brock Purdy is currently injured. They could maybe look to bring in a Daniel Jones to help kind of patch that offense together with a better quarterback. And last but not least, your boy and the one that Robin met in Germany, Malik Neighbors, very outspoken after the game about the head coach, Brian Daboll, not getting him the ball. He said they asked him what plays he wants run, and they simply still didn't get him the ball. You could blame Tommy DeVito if you want, but Malik Neighbors very frustrated, and a lot of reports from insiders were it's going to be a very uncomfortable week in the Giants facilities this week. Brian Daboll could be fired, and Joe Schoen could be fired as well.
Man.
We will see what happens with the Giants, but there could be some firings on the way with how bad they look this week against Tampa Bay. And I don't know if you saw Baker Mayfield doing the Tommy DeVito celebration after his rushing touchdown.
Baker was doing his finest troll job,
pretty
man.
funny.
Yeah.
Baker's living it up, man. Shout out Baker for playing great. But that's all we have so far, Ray. Do you have anything else that you want to add on?
Baker's awesome, man. How could you not just enjoy watching Baker Mayfield play football right now? You know,
so good.
From his collegiate story, from being a walk-on to making it happen after transferring, winning the Heisman, being the #1 overall pick, having issues with Hugh Jackson in Cleveland, and then journeyman bounced around Carolina. People are going to forget that he played for the Rams for a couple of weeks too. He's out there for the Rams. He's with the Panthers. And then here he is. He's found a home in Tampa Bay and playing good ball, despite the fact that he's not had his top 2 options at wide receiver, new offensive coordinator change. Good for Baker Mayfield. And good thing that Jatavian Sanders is okay, because when he fell on his neck, it looked pretty scary. He's an exciting young player. He's an exciting young player in Carolina. The big thing for me, I'm curious as to what the chat thinks about this. I was thinking about this yesterday, Jay, doesn't it feel like we are in this era where players are just saying whatever? Like there seems to be more player outspoken talk against the coach, the ownership.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we have not seen this level of just, I don't give a damn in a long time.
Basically.
And Neighbors is dope, but you're still a neophyte, man. You are wet behind the ears. You just were birthed here in the NFL, and to have the stones to have the power to say that, it doesn't seem like this would happen under old Belichick's watch, or one of those, Sean Payton, or Sean Payton got Russ's ass up out of there. Like, I'm the top dog. Like, there ain't nobody. I'm running the show. It just seems very different in today's NFL, man.
I think part of it too, right, is like when you're in college, especially if you're like a Malik Neighbors or a lot of these guys, they play for coaches that have actually, won something and have a lot of pedigree to some extent. And in a lot of these cases, you go to Brian Daboll and you're like, okay, we're winning every game. We're playing really well. They're getting me the ball a lot. To now you're losing every game. You're not even getting the ball to down 30 points. And he's not going anywhere. He knows he's good. He knows he's locked in, right? And Daboll's ass is on the hot seat, so why not throw a little flame on the fire if he's not going to get you the ball? I think they're just hanging out with too many NBA players. This player empowerment movement in the NFL is definitely surprising to see.
Old man JRich doesn't like it. Shut up and play ball. Look at you, JRich.
Look at what LeBron did to the NBA. Look at this. Look at what happened now. James Harden gets traded every other season because of this shit.
It's just different, man. It's just different, but he's not. And what's crazy about it is Brian Daboll won NFL Coach of the Year 2 years ago.
2 years ago. He stinks.
He won NFL Coach of the Year 2 years ago, and now he is awful. Blast him off to the sun. You better make sure you get a strong leader at the helm in order to take over those reins. The news coming out of both New York camps, not good right now. You didn't even talk about the reports or the rumblings about the Jets not wanting Aaron Rodgers next year, that they don't want him. They don't want him in the building.
Did you hear that Rappaport, he wrote an article about this a little bit, and I was reading it a bit this morning. Apparently, Rodgers has refused to get MRIs and scans over fears of being shut down for the rest of the season because he's that injured. And so there's a source apparently that Rappaport talked to that said that he's refused to get scans and imaging because he believes that there's a chance he could be shut down. Yeah, because he's that injured. And that's obviously one of the reasons why he's playing so badly.
And he's also not the same Aaron Rodgers that he was 4 or 5 years ago that people want. And to give the keys to your franchise to this 40-year-old and have him make decisions and things that are going to impact the roster years down the line for a team that's clearly not ready to go get it seems like negligence, if you ask me. And whoever is going to do this and Rodgers wants to apparently play again next year, but not with the Jets. I'm like, where?
Yeah, he's gonna play for the Raiders?
Somebody will, but where is that? Where is that going to be? And I hope it's far away from my squads, Jay, far away from my teams. But let's pop this thing off talking about the #1 overall pick here in 2024. Caleb Williams. A lot of panic around old Caleb, Jay. A lot of people thinking Caleb should be benched. Caleb not that good. Caleb is a certified bust after 11 weeks and 10 games of NFL action, and they did not win again. They lost again in overtime. Minnesota Vikings 30-27. You talked about some of Sam Darnold getting banged up in that matchup, but let's really focus in on the quarterback. Let's start with Caleb Williams, who was 32 for 47, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 sacks, led the team in rushing with 33 yards. And when you just look at the passing distribution, DJ Moore 7 for 106, Keenan Allen 9 for 86, Cole Kmet 7 receptions, Rome Odunze. Like, this is where I thought Rome would probably be throughout the season, sort of the third fiddle, but involved, encouraging enough to say, man, it ain't happening here in 24, but in 25, I can get real excited about Odunze. You just look at the numbers and you're like, this is probably what this offense should look like, or at least we expected it to look like. It's looking a hell of a lot better under Thomas Brown's leadership at offensive coordinator, and Caleb Williams looked great to me, despite the fact that they lost, man. You think anything other?
Yeah, I mean, it took them a little bit to get going, and they definitely turned it on in the second half, but it seemed like whenever they needed the play, Caleb actually made the play. Like, outside of overtime where, oh my God, Caleb was so flustered when they actually played coverage against him. It was like, all game he's getting blitzed, and then out of nowhere, they're like, we'll just rush 3 and just 8 guys back, and he didn't know what the hell to do because nobody was open. But you just look to, and I brought this up before the show, we were talking about it, that throw that he made to tie the game to DJ Moore on that dig route, there is not a lot of QBs that can make that throw. And this is where you have to look at Caleb Williams and say, look, he was bad to start the season, no doubt about it. And we all have to admit that coaching definitely could have played a part in this. Go back to the JSN interview where he's like, I don't know about old Shane Waldron.
Right.
And then you get into us saying he's got all the weapons, and we've said this all offseason. He has all the players. But is it actually going to work with the OC? And clearly it didn't. So now you have a situation where you have a new OC, and already 2 games in, it's probably the best game he's ever played. Now, maybe it's experience, maybe it's coaching, maybe it's everything. A
little bit of everything.
But this is probably the best game he's ever played in the NFL. And I think the talent that he showed, not just in the pocket, not just the way that he got rid of the ball, but 3 sacks on top of a game where he threw for 350 and 2 and didn't turn the ball over at all, making key plays with his legs and with his arm. This is the Caleb Williams we always wanted, right? This is the Caleb Williams that even in a loss, you say, okay, but there's potential here. This guy can be a quarterback in the NFL. And I think that's the most encouraging thing to do, even against this Vikings defense, which it's been a little shaky lately, but they're still a good defense overall.
Yeah, I mean, they blitz so much that you can find windows if you've got the quarterback that's got the nuts to stand in there and deliver the ball. And that's what Caleb Williams did. He looked comfortable rushing it. I love the distribution. 15 targets for Keenan Allen, 10 for Cole Kmet, 10 for Rome Odunze. I mean, Allen is underneath. He's working the underneath quick, short area stuff, so it makes a lot of sense. Watching this game, Keenan can still play when he's on the field, but I just selfishly hope they move on. They roll with Kmet, Odunze, and DJ Moore, and they grow with that core as sort of their 3-man rotation. They draft another younger third wide receiver. I'm hoping they kind of get Keenan Allen out of the way, but he played well. On the other side of the ball, Justin Jefferson did absolutely nothing. Milk carton, bracket coverage. You guys might beat us, but it will not be at the hands of Justin Jefferson. We will do everything in our power to ensure that Jefferson does nothing. He caught a second pass of the game in overtime, JRich. He was not the beneficiary today. It was all TJ Hawkinson, and it was all Jordan Addison, who had a monster performance. What did Addison do, Jay?
8 for 162 and a touchdown on 9 targets, Ray. This is the Addison that we signed up for out of USC. Maybe not every week, but a dude that can definitely turn it up when need be. And boy, did he ever. Him and TJ Hawkinson completely carried this offense. Aaron Jones was great as well with 22
Aaron Jones was
6
good
with
too.
a touchdown on the ground. But when you have a game where Justin Jefferson is completely taken out, whether it's from holding penalties and DPIs and called back touchdowns, he just could not get anything going. Jalen Johnson was all over him, whether it was legal or it was a flag. He was not letting him get loose at all. But when you look at this game, for me, it's Sam Darnold's ability to actually win the game with the other players. This is where we haven't seen it enough, in my opinion, from Sam Darnold. But TJ Hawkinson, Ray, where do you think he lands as far as tight ends go? Because I still always have believed he's a top 3 tight end, right? Like he's a top 3 tight end no matter what.
He should
because he just gets the volume and he can do it after the catch as well. And we don't see that from a lot of these tight ends.
Right now, it's a 4-man race for best tight ends in football. And if we're being honest, you've got to put Hawkinson closer to the top of this list because of the quarterback. I know you are not enamored with Sam Darnold, but he was still 22 for 34 for 330 and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions in the game. I think it's a combination of George Kittle, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, and TJ Hawkinson. Those are your 4 big dogs right now in the NFL.
No Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta, tight end 3, 48 overall on KTC. Hawkinson down at 78.
But that Dynasty is a whole nother game. That's all.
That's fair.
We were talking pre-show about some of the biggest busts in fantasy this season. I mean, at cost, Laporta, Maserati Marv. I mean, those are devastating bust blows. Like,
yeah, you can't make up for that.
Just devastating when where you paid and what you paid for those players to get this type of production. Awful. But let me tell you some good news in all of that.
Okay.
Which, Jay, we are wrong quite a bit. Okay, we are wrong quite a bit, and right now we are currently on retirement watch. Bo Nix is pretty fucking good. We are on retirement watch. I am very nervous for the wake-up show and our future in this industry. He might alternate way his into the Pro Bowl this year. He might somehow be an alternate add to the Pro Bowl this year. But this conversation is not about Bo Nix. This conversation was about a fade so loud this offseason in the fantasy community, Jay. It made no sense to me. Made no sense to you. And I know a lot of people that listen to this show, we were all on board with this player here for the 2024 season. And as you watch him play last night, who thought Saquon Barkley was going to be bad in Philadelphia? Like, explain this to me. I mean, offensive line upgrade, QB upgrade, wide receiver upgrade. And people were like, don't draft Saquon Barkley. Jay.
Yeah.
Last night, I'm watching the game, dude. He could have had 300 fucking yards. I'm not even joking. He could have had 300 yards rushing. Easily. He could have had 300. Goes out a couple of carries. Let's Gainwell get a few here and there. Only 26 rush attempts, 255 yards and 270-plus touchdowns. The first player in NFL history to have multiple 70-yard touchdown runs in the second half of an NFL game. He had 2 of them in the second half of an NFL game. And even if you remove those 140 yards off of those 2 runs, he still went over 100 damn yards, Jay. Yeah. How on earth were people so wrong, so scared about this player that is so incredibly good with just a common sense upgrade of an offense in Philadelphia? Talk about Saquon Barkley, man.
I mean, he's just incredible, man. Like, it's funny because Saquon, when he was coming out of college, it wasn't just the fact that he was a great runner, but it was that he can do it through the air as well. But we honestly haven't seen that a lot in Philly. I don't know what his numbers are in terms of receiving, but, he had 4 for 46, I believe, in this game. So it's still, again, over 300 total yards, which is just absolutely absurd for one player to do that. But you look at what he's doing in this Eagles team, and it reminds me so much of the Penn State offense with the big plays where Saquon's just going zoom right up the middle, 60 yards, 70 yards for a touchdown. Like, I actually was doing a bit of work late last night, and I missed the second touchdown, like, live because I turned the game off for like 3 minutes.
I thought he was going to slide. I thought he was going to slide. I was like, don't you dare do it, Saquon.
But this is the exact reason why we had this show, whatever, after week 8 or something like that. And I was like, I would trade literally anything to get Saquon Barkley because the teams the Eagles are playing right now are absolutely atrocious. And I talked about how they're going to put up 30 points a game almost every single game. And almost every single game they're putting up 30 points, and Saquon is balling. And he's still got the Ravens this week, who should be pretty decent, but we'll see how they play. They got the Panthers, the Steelers, and then they got the Commanders and Cowboys again, who are awful. So, like, Saquon is a player that, Ray, I think the biggest problem is where do you draft him at this point? Because right now, you could easily make the case he is RB1. I don't care how young Bijan Robinson is. He is probably never going to do what Saquon Barkley is doing right now. And so at what point do you say Saquon Barkley is RB1?
Jay,
that's it.
We did this exercise maybe 2 shows ago where we were talking about trading for league winners. This might have been 3 weeks ago that we did this, because we do 3 shows. It might have been a couple of weeks ago that we did this show. And we talked about Saquon Barkley. Right now, I am on DynastyDaddy.com's trade database, right? Active live trades from all across Sleeper. Listen to some of the things that people are sending away to acquire Saquon Barkley. In a 12-team start 11, Rashee Rice or Saquon Barkley 7 days ago.
I mean, you're not getting that now, though.
But the point is, you could have gotten this shit for a month. It didn't take last night for you to. If it took last night's 300-yard performance for your light bulb to switch and be like, oh man, he's pretty good, you fucking suck. You shouldn't play fantasy football. Stop wasting money, go do something else. If it took last night's performance for you to be like, okay, I'll buy in, you stink. Jonathan Brooks and a 26 first-round pick for Saquon Barkley.
Woof.
Here goes a doozy. 4 days. These are 4 days ago. So this was prior to the game. QJ, Troy Franklin, Michael Penix, a first and a fourth for Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley in a 12-team start 11.
And Tony Pollard?
And a free Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard
2 days ago.
It's probably worth that whole package by himself right now.
2 days ago, Jay. Saturday night, I'll just make it. I'll just press accept. A 25 first and a third for Saquon Barkley. We've got another one right here where you could have gotten Saquon Barkley for Nick Chubb, a first and a third.
Great deal.
We do that. We talk about, we like to entertain. It's early in the morning. You ain't brushed your teeth yet. You're taking a dump. I get it. It's early. You don't want to be strategied to death. But there are some legitimate moves that you can make today, people, to help you bring home that chip. Just get your head out of your ass. People are still late to the party on this one. And yes, to your point, now, after last night's performance, it's probably impossible. But
it's impossible, yeah.
These are moves that were very much obtainable. And you never know. You can't count anybody else's pockets, man. Look at this, JRich. 2 weeks ago, Saquon Barkley, and look at all the stuff that this side had to give up. JT Sanders, Will Levis, not 1, not 2, but 3 third-round picks and a 27 first for Saquon Barkley.
Oh, that 27 first.
That Jeremiah Smith is really, I can't trade that right now because of Ryan.
Yeah.
Folks, man, we talk about it because so many people, and I remember when we did that episode and people were like, oh, no shit, go trade for an RB. Yeah, but it's better than trading for Kamani Vidal is the league winner. Trading for whatever podunk third-string running back that some bullshit analyst wants to pop up on X to be first to the party and they don't actually play fantasy football, that they're the league winner. Get the hell out of here with that. You know who the league winner is? It's Saquon Barkley. Go trade whatever is necessary to go get that guy. That's the guy that's going to help you win, not Dylan Lobby from the Raiders. That's not your league winner.
I think that's the problem, right? Is when we talked about that on this show, the good thing was that you weren't so far into the season, because now, the Saquon owners gotta be, 7-5 at worst? Do you think about how bad of a team you'd have to for Saquon Barkley not to be carrying you to at least probably a 2-1 record?
But if you do, James said it right here. I traded Saquon from a team that was not content. Go sell the farm, right?
If you can.
If your team is out of it and you just so happen to have them, I encourage you, go to Dynasty Daddy. Go to DynastyDaddy.com, you Dynasty Fantasy Football nuts, and just look at some of the deals that are going down for some of these players. Yeah, Jay, he's incredible, man. Should he be right now? You're thinking NFL MVP, and Josh Allen is still at the forefront of that list. Where should Saquon be slotted appropriately? And is he the runaway offensive player of the year?
I mean, he's definitely the runaway offensive player of the year. I think he should be ahead of Lamar right now. And he's behind Lamar. Lamar is he's almost 3-1. Josh Allen is 1.5 to 1. Saquon's at 5 to 1 now. And he was like at 10 to 1 late last night. He's already all the way down to 5 to 1 ahead of Goff. So how do you feel about that, Ray? You have Herbert at 20 to 1, Mahomes 12 to 1, Goff next at 6.5, Saquon at 5 to 1, Lamar at basically 3 to 1, and Josh Allen at 1.5 to 1. How do you feel about that order? Allen, Jackson, Barkley, Goff, Mahomes as your top 5 MVP candidates right now.
He should be ahead of Lamar. I think he should be second. I think it should be Josh Allen.
The games Lamar's lost, how is he an MVP candidate?
He can't be, man. He can't be. I love Lamar. Man. He can't be. He cannot be. No, man. No.
Yeah.
No. I think he's ahead of Lamar Jackson. I would put him second. Quickly.
And they're going to play this week too.
There we go. And if Saquon is able to exploit that tough, because that Baltimore run defense with Justin Matabuke, Roquan Smith,
it's the best now, yeah.
No joke. He goes out there and puts foot in ass against them. I think it's a two-man race for the end of the season because it's a cakewalk for Philly down the line. A.J. Brown balled out.
Yeah, just
watching him, he's huge. Like, how do you even defend? Why is he out there playing wide receiver? Like, how is that possible? A.J. Brown is he's very good.
Funny.
He's very good. He's very good, Jay.
Yeah, I was going to say it's funny because A.J. Brown he's like Deebo Samuel if Deebo Samuel was the size of DK Metcalf. Like,
and could actually run routes. And if Deebo could run routes too, receiver.
Right? But it's like, for people who didn't watch this dude in college, it was ridiculous how much bigger he was than all the DBs
Everybody
in
else.
The SEC. And he's just running over dudes constantly.
Huge, man.
And I can't believe he wasn't a first-round pick. Like, I can't believe this dude wasn't a first-round pick.
Almost
second
falling
rounder.
out of the
Bill
second
Belichick
round.
said, give me that N'Keal Harry over this guy.
Give me that Andy Isabella, baby. Give me that Isabella from UMass. Yeah.
Blows my mind, man. Blows my mind.
Other side, Puka Nacua is the wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp scored a touchdown late.
Yeah.
Puka is very good. Every time he falls, you think he might go to the sideline with injury, but he's very, very good. And Kyron Williams needs to stop fumbling. I keep saying it every week. He fumbles every single game. He's fumbling the ball. Every single game he's fumbling the ball. Kyron's got to hold on to the ball.
Ball security is an issue.
Yeah, it is an issue. All right, got a lot of people in the building. Hit that thumbs up button. Like the content. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're going on a quick break, and then we got some quick hitters, and then get into some more top fantasy football storylines following week 12. Let's go.
This shit is elementary. I'd probably go to jail if I shoot at your identity and bounce to the left. Stuck a flag in my city. Everybody screaming Compton. I should probably run for mayor when I'm done. To be honest, and I put that on my mama and my baby boo too. 20 million walking out the car, better whoa whoa. Oh yeah, fuck the judge. I made it past 25, and now I was a little nappy-headed nigga with the world behind him. Life ain't shit but a fat vagina. Screaming, Annie, are you okay? Annie, are you okay? Limo tinted with the gold plate straight from the bottom. It's the belly of the beast. From a peasant to a prince to a motherfucking king.
Hold up. K-Dot, GNX drop. What'd you think, Jay? What do you give it? GNX, what do you give it?
I'd probably give it like a 7.5, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it like an 8. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I give it an 8 out of 10.
I was at an 8, and then I listened to it again. I was like,
nah, I'm an 8. I grew up.
I had to go down a little bit.
Of California, Nevada. I'm over it. That was I loved it. I love it. And the samples that he used, he went back through. He did a Tupac. He redid a Tupac song. I think it was. I give it a solid 8. I give it a solid freaking 8. But appreciate y'all being in the building. Wake up with Ray and Jay. Hit that thumbs up button. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Check out all the dope content on the channel. And if you do want a reprieve of football content, JRich, you got a show, right? You got a show talking about some other stuff. Talk about what's going down this week on, what is this show? Across the Pond?
Across the Pod, Ray. Come on.
Across the Pod. My bad.
Across the Pod.
It's across the pond shit that you're talking about. So quickly plug your show, man.
Yeah, so I talk about fantasy Premier League. If you don't play, you should. It's very fun, very different from the fantasy football game that we play. But yeah, I do a podcast with my buddy who lives out in London, and we have a lot of fun. So if you're into the Premier League or into fantasy Premier League, definitely check it out. It drops usually on Thursdays or Fridays, sometimes earlier in the week, but you can always find it on my Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter at AcrossThePodFPL, or check us out on YouTube where all the shows are as well.
There it is. There it is. All right, some quick hitters, Jay. Quick hitters. Hit some music for us for the quick hitters. We're gonna hit some music for some ballers and maybe a few duds. Trey McBeast this past Sunday, JRich, was incredible for the Arizona Cardinals. McBride, one of the best tight ends in football, still no touchdowns. Let's get some TDs for Trey McBride. 12 for 133 versus the Seattle Seahawks, but we're not done with this one. We're not done with those Seahawks because for the first time it felt like there was a slight changing of the guard, maybe a little bit. JSN led the way with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the field, led with 7 targets, 6 receptions, 77 yards, and he scored a touchdown. Unfortunately, Mazda Marv, Mitsubishi Marv, whatever you want to call
find
him,
the new
3
one.
for 47, did not get it done, did not score a touchdown. It would have been a beautiful catch, but didn't get it, and I believe he's only surpassed 55 yards 3 times on the season, Jay. That's it.
Woof.
Kyler didn't do shit this game. They could not protect him, sacked 5 times, threw a pick. They couldn't run the ball. Just very, very bad. And on the other side, Geno nor Kenneth Walker did much either. Anything you want to say about those 2 studs, Trey McBride and JSN?
No, they played well. They drew up that nice play to JSN for the touchdown. McBride was all over the field, and Marv did absolutely nothing. Surprise, surprise. This guy just can't string together games, unfortunately, and he's been a massive bust this season. MetroCard Marv. We got to go down to MetroCard Marv.
Are we MetroCard?
I feel like we're almost there. Man. I feel like we're almost there. And shout out to Jag in the chat. I haven't seen Jag
shout
in a
out
minute.
to Jag. Hey, shout out to Janu. JRich, you laughed at me when I said pick up Janu a few weeks ago. You laughed at me. And Janu Smith is quietly outproduced Tyreek Hill. I mean, he is just balling every single week. Janu Smith, another big game for the Dolphins, who everyone had a big game. Devon Achane, 2 receiving touchdowns. Janu Smith, damn near 100 and a tutty. Jalen Waddle arose from the dead, and he scored. And Tyreek Hill, nothing for the Miami Dolphins. Tough season if you're a Tyreek Hill manager. Been a very difficult season for him. George Kittle, still a beast, JRich. George Kittle still balled out. And CMC, I tried to get you to buy CMC a week ago. I pressed you very hard. Are you sure you want to do this, Jay? And you stood resolute 10 toes down to say you are good on Christian McCaffrey, and he has not been that great since coming back from Achilles injury.
Yeah, it sucks because if you had him, you had a chance to trade him for a first, probably, potentially. And some people did, some people didn't. They wanted to hold on to him. And I think at this point, unless Brock Purdy is back, I don't think he's going to do much of anything because now they just key in on the running game and let Brandon Allen throw the game away. And that's probably going to happen for as long as he's a quarterback.
All right, kill the music. Kill the music. Kill the music. We got to talk about my Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, JRich. I don't know how they did it. They beat the Washington Commanders 34. What was the score? 34-26.
34-26.
34-26 and 40-plus points scored in the fourth quarter.
41. What was this game? No quarter had more than 13 points, and in the fourth, there was 41 points scored. 24 by the Cowboys, 17 by the Commanders. Ray, what the hell happened? They did everything in their power to lose this game. But you know what that you can't stop? You can't stop the rush. You can't stop Cooper Rush. All he does is win, baby. 4-2 as the starter for the Cowboys.
Of the future.
This is what he does.
QB of the future, Cooper Rush.
Once again, playing them out of a good draft pick.
2 touchdowns, ran for 1 yard as well on 4 carries, gave you some rushing production. And the Cowboys,
no love for Rico Dowdle,
have really crushed that draft opportunity. Could have been picking inside the top 6 today, but instead they decided to win and fall outside the top 10. Kevontae Turpin, Jay, the kick return.
Holy
how
hell.
Fantastic was that? How fantastic was Kevontae
Is that
Turpin?
the word you want to use? Or
what do you call it?
I was watching that game. I would say tragic is the better word. It was a sick return and great for him.
The return was fantastic. It was a
You knew at that point the game was over. Like, at that point, you knew the game was probably over, and it wasn't over, but it was
not
crazy
over.
return.
Yeah,
it was
crazy
a crazy
return for Turpin. Everybody was clamoring for Trey Lance, and I'm like, we don't want Trey Lance. Like, he's not.
Are you
good.
sure?
Like,
do you want him now?
I mean, I would rather. Dallas
go the Tommy DeVito route.
They're about to royally screw this. They're going to win games that they've got no business winning. And Washington, after being this darling of a franchise, they're 7-5 right now, Jay. Yeah. And they were once the number 2-3 seed in the NFL. Where are the Commanders at now? Where are the Commanders at today?
Currently.
And let's just call it what it is. Prior to that 87-yard touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin, Jayden Daniels looked pretty stank. Outside, he ran. He was running the ball well. But the sentiment around JD5 was, man, maybe we jumped the shark. Maybe we anointed him too soon to be the number 1 overall player in Dynasty fantasy football. Now, the final numbers look great, but the sentiment.
And he was QB1.
The sentiment during the game was not what the final result was. So my question to you, Jay, I really don't want to talk about Dallas. They won the game. Good job, Dallas. Awful win. There's just they're 4-7 now. And they're
going to be 5-7.
They're still in it enough for Jerry Jones to just be all in. I mean, they are still in it enough for old man Jerry to just continue to go. Mike McCarthy's job is safe. We're going to run this thing back again next year. But I really want to talk about JD5. And do you think we've continued to talk about it a little bit after we pumped up his MVP chances versus the Steelers and he went down? Are his Rookie of the Year odds dwindling by the week, JRich? There's still half dozen games left. Is it locked up or is this bitch wide open, baby?
Dwindling, Ray. His Rookie of the Year odds are in the shitter right now. He is at -135, and the contender.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
He was like -500,
he was 500
like 2 weeks ago.
Week.
Yeah, maybe last week. Yeah, but
he's
-135 on DK. And Bo Nix, Ray. I wish, because I bet you there is a clip, because we talked about this on the show, where I said, we did talk about Bo Nix Rookie of the Year because he was the starter, taking him and Drake May, because he had the same odds to win Rookie of the Year as Drake May, and Drake May wasn't even starting, and Bo Nix was. And I don't think I have a ticket on Nix, but I remember we talked about it, and I said maybe we should, because you just never know. And now he's +110, and they're probably going to make the playoffs because they're 2 games up on the Dolphins, and I have 2 games up on the Colts, and obviously the Bengals and all that.
Oh, they're making the playoffs.
So Denver's like 75% chance of making the playoffs, and the Washington Commanders, Ray, 59%. And they still have to play the Eagles and the Falcons, I believe, are their 2 tough games they have left. The rest are decent. They got the Saints. They have another easy opponent, I believe, this week. But, Ray, I think your Cowboys could be going on a little bit of a winning streak because, they got DeVito and the Giants this week. So we'll see what Malik can do. But I'd probably take the Cowboys on that one, especially on the spread.
I'm reading the chat. I'm reading the chat. Hold on, Joe. Hold on. Uh-oh, Joe. We're getting Joe. People are talking about, no one's talking about selling Jayden Daniels, and we're not talking about his fantasy output. My question directly is his chances at Rookie of the Year, are they teetering? And I do think that is a very fair question because Jayden Daniels isn't the only fucking rookie that's playing well this season. There are other rookies who are deserving of being recognized as some of the best players this season in the NFL. That does not mean you go out and sell him or trade him or his fantasy football value. We got to be able to have these kind of conversations and understand that they're not mutually exclusive. You can be a dope fantasy asset and a shitty NFL asset, right? And we're not even saying that Daniels is that, but his play over the last month and a half of the season from an NFL standpoint has been rocky. And that is why, the odds aren't dropping for no reason. They're going down for a reason. They're not just because people are just think that Jayden Daniels is bad, but I don't know why people get so it's the game. You've got the ebbs and flows. Lamar's still great, but he shouldn't be in consideration for NFL MVP. He should not. Derrick Henry's awesome, but he shouldn't be in consideration for MVP. And I just think that if you look at Jayden's play over the last month and a half, like it hasn't been as sky high as it was. And I think he has opened the door for some other rookies to at least, hey, wave and say, hey, I'm right here too. Look out the window. I'm playing well. My team is in the
Yeah.
playoffs. I'm one of the better young players in the league as well. And I think that is what's happened. Since we're in Denver right now, since we're here from the Commanders to Denver, you look around at that offense, Jay, and I said this 2-3 weeks ago and continue to talk about it. He is Bo Nix's and Sean Payton's Marcus Colston. I don't give a shit that he's 32 years old. I bet you Vele is one of the starting 2 wide receivers next year. Cortland Sutton is balling out right now. And they're finding ways to get Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims involved in this offense. Get Bo Nix a tight end. Get him another running back. And I think that you've got this AFC West, from looking like it's just been Kansas City's division to run and own for the next 100 years. Talk about the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs. This division is starting to look a hell of a lot better, Jay. And this is one player that I do think, Devon Vele, if you could just slide him in to a couple of deals on the back end because he's just 26 years old, you're going to have yourself a quality wide receiver with a good ascending offense moving forward in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about it, how good he's been, and once again, second in the team in targets and in yards, clearly getting the opportunity, running ahead of Marvin Mims in certain packages and getting the ball. And this is also with Cortland Sutton looking for a new deal, right? That's also on the horizon. So if for some reason they did want to move on from Cortland Sutton, and I don't think they will necessarily, depending on how much money he wants. Vele could operate as an even higher potential target earner than we expected. So I think when you look at this team, it's so surprising. Like, you don't expect Bo Nix to go into a game against the Raiders and throw the ball 42 times, only get sacked once, and not turn it over at all. Like, that's just not supposed to happen for Bo Nix. But the way he's playing, the way that Sean Payton has this operation running, Bo Nix playing at a very high level, more than deserving of Rookie of the Year nod, and they're both have the same record right now. And this is where, when you're betting on this award, you do have to look at, like, is the team any good, and can they win games? And while we didn't say that about Denver or Washington, like, that's what it comes down to. The reason why these guys are in it is because they're going to make the playoffs, and that's the most important thing to NFL voters is, what are you doing for your team to help them win games? Stats do matter, but you look at Bo Nix's stats, and they're not that impressive. But when you look, especially after the bye and in the last few weeks, he's throwing for 250 yards a game or 230 yards a game. He's throwing for multiple touchdowns. He's not turning the ball over.
11 touchdowns, 1 interception last 5 weeks. 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 wins, 2 losses. And the 2 losses, one was against Kansas City, in which they should have won that game. You got a field goal block. And then they did get their shit kicked in by the Baltimore Ravens. So, I mean, he's playing good ball. He's not, we're not sitting here saying that he's the second coming, but coaching absolutely matters, and he's a player that here's my take on Bo Nix. At this point of where we are, he's no longer, oh, that's Bo Nix to me. Like, that was a big hurdle that I think myself, you, and a lot of people had to get over. That, man, that's Bo Nix. I really didn't like him coming out. Like, we're past that. We're past that. He is now he's an appropriately slotted quarterback amongst whomever you have in that tier, but I'm over the shock value that the name is Bo Nix. We're past that, man. We're past that. He's playing really good ball, and hopefully they continue to build around him. And if I can get Devon Vele thrown into some deals, a cheap Cortland Sutton, I would 100% be good with investing in those assets at cost. I think one of the more shocking performances, and we may wrap with this topic and pick up on some of the other things that we didn't touch on. Anthony Richardson, really want to talk about this 23 QB class. Let's talk about them quickly. It went Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Rich in 2023. And after the rookie year, CJ Stroud was anointed as the second coming of Dan Marino. QB2 in Dynasty, only behind Mahomes. Ahead of Hurts, ahead of Lamar, ahead of Burrow, all these guys. Look at CJ Stroud's numbers on the season, his total numbers, passing yards. He's still, top 5 in the league, passing yard numbers wise. I mean, they're still very good numbers, but having him on your roster, I bet you he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in fantasy football because you continue to jam him in every week and he's barely getting by. They lose to the Titans. The Texans are 7-5 right now. Titans improved to 3-8. Stroud, 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. Sacked 4 times, did have another Nico Collins long touchdown catch called back. where are you at with CJ Stroud right now? His play, his value, all of that stuff, man. Like, we anointed him.
Yep.
Year two's come around, and he has not been that good. He's been pretty bad for the entirety of the season. And while we could point to the offensive line and they could be better, and we could point to the weapons and he could have had this and that, how much of the blame should be shouldered by Stroud? How much of this season's inconsistencies should be attributed to him versus Bobby Slowick versus everybody else's fault? How much of this is CJ Stroud's fault?
I think you have to say a decent chunk of it, right? Like, I think you can confidently say that, yeah, the offensive line is a bit of an issue, for sure.
It's an issue.
But, I mean, you look at Matthew Stafford, who is currently scoring more points per game than CJ Stroud. And while I totally understand both have had their receivers miss time, both have had receivers go down, I think we can confidently say that Matthew Stafford's been playing significantly better than CJ Stroud. Significantly better. Despite all of the issues both teams have had with offensive line and receivers going down, they've both had strong running games and good running backs. Defense is a bit of a question on the Rams side. It's been getting better, and obviously the Houston defense has been pretty solid. They, allowed a lot of points this weekend, but they've been pretty good overall. And then you look to even higher than that. Drake May, more points than CJ Stroud. Drake May, more points than CJ Stroud. Aaron Rodgers, Ray, more points per game than CJ Stroud. Kirk Cousins, who's been very up and down, more points per game than CJ Stroud. Justin Fields, more points per game than CJ Stroud. Caleb Williams, as bad as he's been a lot of weeks, more points per game than CJ Stroud. Derek Carr, more points than CJ Stroud. So you just look to that as itself, and you say, how on earth is this guy still QB6 in Dynasty? And as you said, how can you possibly consider starting him week in and week out? He has Nico Collins back now. He has Tank Dell. Joe Mixon was completely nullified in this game by the Titans. They did a phenomenal job stopping him. But the game plan is clear. Stack the box, stop Joe Mixon, and you have every chance in the world to win the game. He threw 2 horrible interceptions. He Dan Orlovsky in the back of the end zone to lose the game. He's not playing good football. And Will Levis threw a pick 6 and was sacked 8 times in this game, and they still put up 32 points and won. It's completely inexcusable from Stroud. Completely inexcusable, but I think you do have to look to Slowick as well. What happened? Year 1 to year 2, what changed for this team? Maybe it's the O-line, but I can't imagine that the O-line makes that much of a difference unless Stroud isn't partly Kovabolo as well.
Man, it's I'm just reading the chat, and it's everybody's fault but Stroud. It's the offensive line. He needs a new receiver and tight end. It's Bobby Slowick. It's why I rock with Stanley, man. Like, Stanley gets it. Like, I don't know why people are so protective over calling out what is currently happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not playing good for what you could use all the excuses and reasons and examples you possibly can. And it does not mean that the player is dust, does not mean the player should be banished and kicked out of the league or his starting job taken away from him. But it is what it is, man. Like, it is what it is. You're playing how you play, and that is okay to say, you know what? It ain't working right now. You need to hit the drawing board. OC's got to get their shit together. CJ Stroud, you need to come back, because it's not just the offensive line. It ain't just everybody else, and the quarterback is resolved and absolute from any blame whatsoever. That's not how sports works. And it's okay to be like, you know what? You fucking sucked this season, but I've got confidence and hope that we can get it together next year. And that's okay to be this blinding notion that I drafted him, so I've got to just stick it out through the end. Hell no. You stink right now for a variety of reasons. It's a team sport. So nobody's saying that 100% of this is CJ Stroud's fault. But what has 1,000% happened is you've jammed him in every week. And as good as his numbers may look, it is not equated to fantasy points. It is not given us the type of result in which we paid for CJ Stroud. And my question is, like, what do you think that is? And a lot of people are saying it's player, it's scheme, it's team, it's everybody but Stroud. I don't know. I'm with Stanley. The NFL watches tape on folks, man. The defensive side of the ball get paid a lot of money too. There's some Hall of Famers that play defense. There are guys on
probably
the
equal
defensive
parts
side
Hall
that
of
go to
Famers.
Hall of Fame too. It's not just the fantasy scoring players that are Hall of Fame players in football.
Yeah, it's interesting because the funny part about this team is that they don't have a very difficult schedule. Like, their division stinks, and they should go 6-0 in division every year because this team is good enough to do that. They dropped a game to the Titans, and that was an awful game. And to be fair to Levis, I think Levis is actually playing really good football right now. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL, but where he was to where he's at is significantly improved, especially when you look at the last 3 games since he came back. He was a little bit slow to start, but he literally came back into the offense, played the Chargers, played the Vikings, and then played the Texans. Like, those are not easy games, and he threw for 250 yards in 2 of those games and has 5 touchdowns through those 3 games, which is amazing, but definitely good for Levis. You look at Stroud, though, every game is the same. This guy can't deliver the ball on time. They can't matriculate the ball down the field. They're awful in the red zone. Like, even the touchdown to Nico Collins was a very contested throw that he had to go in and make a play. So it's like, I think that there is some Bobby Slowick to blame here because there's tape on Slowick's offense. People know what they're doing. And I think we talked about it last week with, what's his name? The OC, Cliff Kingsbury. Second half of seasons, Kingsbury's offense goes in the hole because he doesn't adjust to defense adjusting to him. And I think we're seeing a very similar situation with Slowick from last season.
Can I just ask this question, or is it maybe our fault? When I say our fault, us as the fantasy player, is it our fault because we prematurely anoint players as elite? And I'm sitting back, Jay, watching Philadelphia last night. And it was the Saquon Barkley show, but you look around at the quarterbacks, and they're probably, if we're being very, very just. How many elite QBs are there? And when I say elite, week in and week out, they are going to be top 10 options. They're even on a bad day. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts has that type of capability. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, is that in list? Are those the 4 elite outcome quarterbacks? And what we should do is, like, Stroud is real good, right? Very good, but we know he's not going to run a lot. So you're really dependent on him just being a surgeon, right? And doing what he did last year. He was highly efficient, big plays, touchdowns all over the place. Like, how many of those guys really, truly exist in this game that we play? 3 or 4, like, real elite fantasy quarterbacks? How many of them are there? Because
I would say...
And my question is this, Jay. If Stroud is not that, then what's the difference between he and Jared Goff? The value that people place on him, right? Because I want Stroud because he's younger, part of a good offense. Jared Goff is 30 years old. But what's the difference if you're not that elite? If you're not, and I'm not saying he isn't, but if you're not, like, what is the difference?
Yeah, there's no difference. I think that's the hard part about this game that we play. And I think when you talk about a player like Stroud, the reason why we liked him is because there was that Joe Burrow ceiling to his game. When we talk about anointing him as elite, he was definitely that last season. To do what he did as a rookie, highly impressive. But when you talk about elite quarterbacks, I think we could almost break into 2 different tiers. You have truly elite quarterbacks, and I would say there's 3. There's Lamar Jackson, there's Jalen Hurts, and there's Josh Allen.
You're talking fantasy elite, right? Fantasy elite?
Yeah, fantasy elite. Fantasy elite.
Jayden
Those are the elite quarterbacks for fantasy. And if you want to throw Jayden there, I'm fine with it. He's still a little young, and so I'd say he's like pre-elite, but he's has all the traits.
He's elite light.
Yeah.
He's elite light.
Yeah. And he's not quite there yet. We got to be more consistent,
I
but
mean,
the ceiling is there.
But we just want to see a little more.
Exactly. The same way that we want to see a bit more from all these quarterbacks a little bit. But then you have the second tier, the elite throwers of the football, the Joe Burrows, the Justin Herberts, the Patrick Mahomeses, maybe Jordan Love, the guys who can run the football to some extent, but it's more so about how they throw the football. And if they're not playing overly well, the offense isn't playing very well, they're going to score very poorly for fantasy. And this is where you have these buying opportunities for Joe Burrow, for Justin Herbert, for Patrick Mahomes, like all these guys that are pure throwers of the football that offer very little from a rushing perspective week in and week out. That's where the buying opportunities truly are, because Herbert right now, QB 8 in Dynasty.
We've been talking about Herbert, I know.
QB 16 maybe?
I know.
But he's always been and always will be an elite thrower of the football. And as long as his team is good, he will be good. But when the team isn't good, he's not going to be good. And that's where you get the dependency of these great throwers of the football and true elite assets for fantasy. You have to be able to run or you're not going to be elite, like truly elite, like you talk about top 10 every single week, multiple top 5 finishes. You have to be elite, and you have to be able to run the ball to do that. And I think Lamar, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts absolutely have that. Jayden Daniels is right there, though. He is right there, and I think you can put him at 4 pretty easily. But after that, you have Burrow, you have Herbert, you have Mahomes, you have Stroud, you have Love, you have Murray, who should be higher, but isn't playing well or not playing fully to that capability quite yet. And it's just literally how good they're playing. They're all in the same tier, but it's who's playing the best. Best quarterback right now is Joe Burrow. Not even close.
All right, let's talk about another quarterback from that class, Anthony Richardson. Okay, JRich. JRich yesterday had a
stinker.
I'm not gonna say it was a stinker. It was just a very non-memorable game. He had 61 rushing yards in the matchup versus Detroit, 11 for 28, 172. He didn't get sacked. He didn't throw any interceptions. It didn't really do a lot of anything. He was out there, and I asked in our community, I was just like, what did it look like to you? What did it look like to you? Did the 61 rushing yards? Because here's my thinking, Jay. Here's my thinking. If you told me that the way that he ran the ball looked so good, he was so dynamic, so explosive that his rushing is going to make up for the lack of consistency in the throwing game, I'd be like, cool, great. But what I heard was the easy still looked incredible difficult for him. It's deep shot or bust with JRich, and he's more of a Cam Newton type rusher, a power runner, opposed to JD5 or Lamar that are going to make you miss and kind of get loose and pick up extra yards
or slide.
And the response that I got was he didn't look that special of a runner, even with 61 yards. I think it's gonna be just hard, man. I think it's gonna be very difficult for him to get to the level that we really want. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for him. And again, if you go to Dynasty Daddy, still incredible deals that you can get done. You are not left holding. If you want out, you have not reached the point where you are left holding the Anthony Richardson bag. You're not. There are dope deals that you can. Go ahead, Jay. Talk about this. 11 for 28. People are still rough, look man. Stinky to me. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's rough. Like, it's funny. Was that Jag who put it in the chat? AR running like Tebow. And that's, like, you're bringing up all these Florida quarterbacks, right? But
he's
that's
too
how
big,
it looks.
Man. He's too damn big.
He needs to slim down. He needs to slim down. Like, literally. He's just too big, too lumbering, gets hit a ton, and you wonder why he gets hurt. Like, this is the NFL, man. Like, you just can't do this. And all the best runners of the football, they get out of bounds, they get down, unless you're Josh Allen and you're just freaking tank. Like, everyone else tries to get down, tries to avoid hits when they can. But, Ray, like, we talked about this, and I still have to ask you, like, would you consider buying low on him? Because maybe the price does go down this week, but, like, even this week, he has to go at New England. I don't think he's going to play well against New England. As bad as they looked against Miami, I just don't know if it's going to look good. And then if he does look good, he has the Broncos on the road. There's no shot he looks good against the Broncos. Then he plays the Titans. It's just when's it coming?
I've already rotted on this hill. Like, my body is on the hill and it is decomposing in Anthony Richardson's blood. I am part of the earth now. So
you're part of the problem.
I'm here. I just don't see the point in buying low. I'm looking at trades right now. Days ago, here's some trades that you could have made to get out of your JRich. If you want, I want to be out. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Somebody was able to trade JRich and Kyle Pitts and get a 226 firsts, a 25 second, and a 27 second for JRich and Kyle Pitts. We've got another one here 7 days ago, a first and a third for Anthony Richardson. Somebody added a first and a second to JRich to get Joe Burrow, which I would do. Like, I would do that. I will give up a first and a second with JRich to get Burrow. We've got another deal here where JRich was traded in a 12-team start 11 for 2 first-round picks in 2026. We've got Anthony Richardson and Nico Collins for Brock Purdy, Jordan Addison, Xavier Legette, and a 25 first-round pick 8 days ago for Nico Collins and JRich. So if you if you get creative, like there are plenty of deals that you can make right now to move him. I'm not in the buy low camp. I will pay low price next year in startups when he's going dirt cheap, when nobody wants him, but I'm not sending shit right now, man. Look at this, man. Brock Bowers and Mike Evans for likely Richardson and Brown. AJ Brown. Like, I get it. You're giving up AJ Brown, but if you want to get yourself into elite tight end tier, there are deals to make. We asked this question on the show a couple of weeks ago. Who gets the starting job first in the NFL, Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson? And talk about how Bryce Young looked yesterday versus the Chiefs. What were they, 10.5, 11.5 point dogs at home against Kansas City? Talk about Bryce, man. Talk about Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick in 2023.
Yeah, man. The crazy thing I think about this class, and you kind of hit on it when we were talking about it, is that it went Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, JRich. And it felt like Bryce Young was at the bottom after year 1, and even into the middle of the season when he got benched again into year 2. And I think we would all confidently say that right now, Bryce Young looks like a quarterback that won a Heisman Trophy and is a very smart and talented quarterback. Maybe slightly limited in terms of arm talent in the NFL, which was always the knock, but he looks like a quarterback who has slowly figured it out. It took him a long time to get there. And I think we do have to give Dave Canales a bit of credit because we gave him a lot of shit on this show. And we talked about how his whole goal was to turn things around for Bryce Young. He benched him, went to Andy Dalton, and still he was forced to go back to Bryce. But it looks like finally things are starting to click for this offense. And Ray, I think the crazy part about it is last season, who was the wide receiver 1 that nobody saw coming? It was Adam Thielen. And this week, Adam Thielen returned to the offense. No Deontay Johnson and all of his bullshit. That clearly is a problem. And what do you know? You have a surrounding cast that actually likes Bryce Young, is playing for Bryce Young. You got David Moore going for 100 or 80 yards and a touchdown in the game on 10 targets. Like, this is something that is so surprising from the Panthers, offensively and defensively. And you can't look to say this team can be significantly better with upgrades all across the board. They have a better offensive line. The pass catchers are very meh, but Bryce Young is playing like a quarterback, like we talk about with Drake May, where it's like, okay, you can see he's good, but they need more. Bryce Young looks like a quarterback that is playing pretty well and getting better, but they need more to help him reach a higher ceiling.
Do you have any interest in Bryce? You're asking about buying low on Richardson. Would there be any interest in Bryce? Because the same thing's got to apply. If you're saying CJ Stroud's got to be a 5,000-yard, 50-touchdown thrower in order to be fantasy elite, like I don't see that in Bryce's future. Like, I see fine quarterback, but I don't see 5,000 yards, 50 damn touchdowns. And it's not 50, but you get what I'm saying. A bunch of touchdown passes. Like, what is, are we just saying like, okay, he looks good enough to be like a quarterback out there and be fine? Or is this, do you think there's any fantasy? Where did he finish on the week? Where was Bryce Young? This performance against, again, difficult defense. What did that
only
look like?
One touchdown, right?
Yeah, I think he had.
So that's kind of that's the problem. Only one touchdown.
260 and 1 in the 20s is what he scored on the week.
He was like QB9.
QB9?
Yeah, he's behind Cooper Rush, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford. But I mean, he was ahead of Will Levis, who actually had a pretty good game. CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Russell Wilson, Drake May, Jameis Winston, obviously Anthony Richardson. So, like, he was all right. Now, to be fair, there was 6 teams on bye. So that's a lot of teams. There's only 26 available quarterbacks.
That Buffalo quarterback is on bye, right?
Yeah,
he's
Buffalo
pretty good.
quarterback's on bye, right? And so even still, like, so you add all those teams, maybe there's 3 ahead of them, 3 below him. He's right around QB 12. Right? That's not, again, for what we expect of Bryce Young, that is a startable QB2. And while he's not great, I think you have the upside of, if he's a decent quarterback, throwing the ball 30 times a game, in an offense that is improving, there can be fantasy value found in a quarterback that needs to throw the football, right? When you have to throw the ball 35 times a game to be in it at all, there is value there. You do have to throw the touchdowns. And I think the good thing for Bryce is that if he can clean up the interceptions a bit, where he has been pretty bad throughout his career, he would actually be decent if he's, throwing 20 touchdowns and only like 8 interceptions. That's solid. You can live with that. The fumbles are going to be a problem. The interceptions could be a problem, but I think he could be all right as a QB2. And what are you paying? A second-round pick to get him?
Let me, people are, oh, well, he played. And
Lamar
I'm
and
the
Herbert
Richardson
playing
guy.
tonight.
Like, he played against a tough defense, and, I think he played well. Y'all, you can't. I think this is the same trap we fell into with Justin Fields this season before the switch to Russell Wilson, because people were like, "Oh, he's not playing that bad. He's not turning it over. He's not playing that bad." Go look at the drive summary for the Indianapolis Colts. Go look at the drive summary. Let me say it. 6 plays, 4 yards, and they kicked in a punt. Okay. 9 plays, 65 yards, and a field goal. 4 plays, 20 yards, and a punt. 1 play, -2 yards, half. 4 plays, 20 yards, punt. 4 plays, 9 yards, punt. 3 plays, -5 yards, punt. 3 plays, -3 yards, punt. 6 plays, 46 yards, turnover on downs in game. You only get like 6 or 7 opportunities a game to drive the ball down the field and score. I understand this was a tough defense, but 11 completions and sub 40% completion percentage is fucking awful. Like, it is. Going 7 straight drives and you're punting the ball and picking up 3-4 yards. Bryce Young played against a very difficult defense too, and that team stinks. And I'm trying to be realistic here. I'm trying to temper.
Do you want a crazy stat?
What? Let me hear.
This is the second most points the Chiefs have allowed all season. Only the Bills put up more points.
That to me is an impressive performance against a good defense, not this. Yeah. Maybe my barometer for what's impressive and not impressive is a little different. And if you don't agree with that, then that's fine. But Bryce Young versus KC, like, that was a good performance against a good defense with a bad team. 11 completions in 6 straight drives where you're getting less than 20 yards and you're 3-and-out punt and sub 40%. That's just
not going to work.
I don't think we will ever see somebody like him drafted as high as they were drafted ever again. I don't think, at least in our time, until another crazy freak quarterback comes, which I don't think we will ever see that ever happen again. So there's still a lot that we've got to talk about, and we'll do some of that on Wednesday. We are going to be live on Wednesday. I know we got Thanksgiving coming up this week. Yeah, it's this week, man. So I'm flying out Wednesday. I'm flying out of town on Wednesday, but we're gonna do Wake Up on Wednesday. No show on Friday. Today, I am going to update the mock draft board because so much has changed. So I am going to put out a mock Monday. So make sure you tap into the channel for that a little later today. Who's on Monday Night Football, Jay? We got a good one tonight, right?
We got the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah,
Who you got, Ray? Ravens or Chargers? I believe it's in SoFi. So big game for the Ravens. Can they blow another one? I think they can. I really like the Chargers in this game.
Baltimore's favored by 2.5, 50.5 point total. Is it
give me a nice 400-yard game from Herbert.
I kind of want to roll with LA on this one. I kind of want to roll with the Chargers in this one, Jay.
Yeah, the Chargers are clearly the pick. They play so much better as dogs than they do as favorites, and they played great last week as well. But man, the Chargers are just playing so well. How could you not pick them? But it's scary. It's the Harbaugh Bowl, so the familiarity is there from both sides.
Joe said Ravens by 3. Joe said Ravens by 3.
And Lamar's got something to prove here because his name is getting slandered a little bit. We already said he's not the
Kevin
MVP.
Said Chargers winning. Kevin said Chargers winning. Birthday, then Thanksgiving. Jimbo, happy birthday to you, man. Don't know if anybody else is celebrating another year of life, but salute to you, man, and appreciate your service, Jimbo. Gump, man, make sure you follow our boy Gump. Does our betting picks for DD Chargers for plus money. 78% Ravens money line. Oh, yeah, you got to go Chargers. Give me the Chargers and the points, man. Give me the Chargers.
Chargers plus 2.5 is such a good bet.
Taylor, we're not going to do it right now. You and Joe want to talk about damn Kyler Murray. Can we talk about Kyler and the Kyler the pocket passer?
What about
Joe,
it, Ray?
Joe, do you
What
want to
about
speak
it, Ray?
up? Do you want to
What
speak
about
up,
it, Ray?
Joe? Joe's our resident Kyler Murray truther. She will handle that. JRich is a big Lamar hater. Jordan
No way.
Richards.
Oh,
Alex
what?
calling you out. Saying
Lamar
that you are a
hater?
Lamar
Since
hater.
when? I mean, if he could beat the Raiders, I wouldn't have to hate on him, would I?
Weez says thanks. Hit the music so we can get out of here. Hit the once we
Had
get
it
to
a little
this,
turned up.
we get to a point in the show where you know it's over. We're at that
We're
point.
just having fun.
We are at that point right now. We appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear in the building. Watching on YouTube.
No
I don't know if we
Roquan.
went to Twitter. I think we went to Twitter too. We're not supposed to. But appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear. Hit the thumbs up button, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Check out the DD Podcast radio feed. JRich has got a podcast. If you want a reprieve of football talk and dynasty football strategy, go listen to some Premier League fantasy soccer. JRich and his boy from across the pond have a show that is not across the pond, but across the pod that you can check out to get some fantasy football Premier League action. NBA tonight, NFL tonight, all kinds of shit, man. College basketball going on. College football playoffs, too. College football playoffs rounding into shape. Anything you want to say to the people, Jay?
No, I hope everyone has a good week. Good rest of the day. I mean, we had a good show. Ray, what are you doing on BR this week? Do you know?
I got a power rankings thing tomorrow, and people are like, "You guys should start talking about."
I was gonna ask you
neighbors and Bowers again. We're not doing that for 30 more minutes.
They both stunk it up this week. We can't talk about
neighbors or Bowers, Jay. You want
who
Malik
had
Owens,
the better week? Who
Huh?
had the better week, Ray? Who had the better week?
It's Malik. It was Jamar Owens for a while. It's Malik Owens. Any receiver from LSU, their last name is going to be Owens if they're disgruntled.
Man.
You had
He's
Odell
literally
Owens.
Following right in the footsteps of Jamar Chase. Don't ask me, ask Dave.
Odell Owens,
Just like, oh my
Jamar
God.
Owens, and
These
now we've
LSU
got Malik
receivers,
Owens.
man.
Give me that clean cut, man. Give me Brock Bowers, just a football player.
Give me Lad
Bowers.
McConkey, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey for another hundo this week tonight. Let's do it.
Lad's going for a hundo tonight?
Man, I had him up to 125 last game, and he had 124. I was pissed.
Man, he's going for 100 again. The Ravens' pass defense is awful. That's
awful. And apparently Roquan's not playing today.
Oh, Roquan is out? Oh, Chargers.
That's what someone said in the chat.
Plus money.
Someone said in the chat that Roquan's not playing and Travis Jones isn't playing either.
Hold on. Let me look up something real quick before we get out of here. Let's look up a Lad line. Let's look up a Lad line. Let's look up a Lad and QJ line real quick before we get out of here, Jay.
You want to take the QJ touchdown?
I don't want to take the touchdown. He's only getting 4
touchdowns.
He's only getting 4 targets, and I got to bet on a TD on those 4 targets. I don't want to do that.
That's what he does. He scores.
I got 67.5 receiving yards for Lad on UD.
So the problem is he's probably going to see a lot of Humphrey. That's the only issue.
I'm not
but I like it still.
Humphrey. 5.5 receptions for Lad.
He's like top 10 in PFF coverage rate.
We got Ladarius on our side.
We do
5.5 receptions and 67.5 yards.
I would take the yards. He makes big plays, man.
I'd take the yards too. What's Herbert's line at? Let's see what Herbert's line is. Where's Herbert at tonight? 259.5 for Herbert, 1.5 passing
Love it.
TDs.
He's been way over that number lately.
Yeah, that's a good number.
Way over.
That's a really
He's been like
good number.
270 every week since the bye, pretty much. Outside of
That's a good number for Herb.
once.
All right. Let's get out of here. Wasn't Ladd a little banged up? I'm taking Henry's longest rush. No Roquan or Travis Jones. Man,
he was banged up with the shoulder, but they still went to him 3 times on the final drive with that shoulder injury. He just didn't practice much early in the week, but he's fine. He'll play for sure. I have no issues. Considering he got banged up in the game and they still went to him late and he was the only option, I'm fine playing him. But yeah, Herbert over 279 in 4 of the last 5 games. The only one he didn't was against the Titans when they won 27-17. Against the Ravens, they'll pass, and he's probably going to go for 270 again.
JK, 46.5 yards.
That's tough, though. This Ravens defense is... We just talked about how good they are. And he's been pretty bad, hasn't he?
All right, we got to get out of here. What are we doing? Hit the music, man. Did we already
the music is done, Ray. We're finished here.
Okay. All right, appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all pull up on Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wake y'all asses up with us. We out. Peace.